Julia Child once said, "Find something you are passionate about and keep tremendously interested in it." Baking is my passion and always has been. There's just something about taking a hodgepodge of ingredients and then just creating something beautiful out of it. And ever since I was a little girl, I've always loved helping my mom in the kitchen with baking. It started out with just stirring the ingredients and eventually licking the bowl as every kid loves to do. From there, I started making cakes from the box and frosting them from the can. But that didn't satisfy me. I wanted to learn how to bake cakes and cookies from scratch. I decided to start with finding the perfect sugar cookie recipe, and when I was 16, I finally mastered it. It took me almost a year, but it was well worth it. Now every year, I have orders for that exact cookie. Last year alone, I had well over 700 cookies that I had to make. And after I mastered the cookie, I wanted to make cakes. Finding the perfect cake recipe, though, is not always easy. A cake needs to be moist, fluffy, and light, and to find that recipe can be challenging. I searched many websites, and I tried out many before I found the one on Wilton.com. I used that recipe as my base, but I tweaked it to my liking. Wilton.com answered my cake questions and helped me create the perfect cake. Now, I won't tell you what my perfect cake recipe is, but I will share some tips that I have learned, so in case anybody wants to bake a cake. There are many ways to prepare a baking pan, but there are really two great options to go by. One option is to take a paper towel and stick it in the solid Crisco shortening, and then you grease every inch of the pan, and then you take a small scoop of flour and you just dump it in there, and then you want to beat the pan so that every inch of it is covered in a greased flour mixture. Another option is to take Wilton Cake Release or Wilton Bake Easy spray and then spray it all over the pan. Just make sure not to spray it over the kitchen floor and do it over the sink because it will get very slippery. Another tip is once your cake is in a preheated oven for at least 20 minutes, make sure to check it every 5 to 10 minutes after that. Take a toothpick and insert it in the cake and then take it out. If it comes out clean, then your cake is done. Keep in mind that every oven is different, so baking times can differ. Once the cake is done, then let it cool in the pan on a wire rack for at least 10 minutes, and then take a knife and very carefully run the knife between the cake inside of the pan. This makes taking the cake out a lot easier. Then take Wilton Cake Crumb spray and spray it all over the cake. This ensures that crumbs don't mix with the frosting of the cake. Another helpful tip is to put a layer of frosting on the cake and put it in the fridge covered for at least an hour. This makes for a smoother cake and it creates a base layer. And then frosting the rest of the cake is easier. Once the cake has been completely frosted, keep it in the fridge, as this will keep it moist and make it last longer. Now the cake I have here is a buttercream cake in an ombre rose design. To create this design, all you need is a disposable icing bag and a large petal tip. Then cut the tip off the bag and put the rose tip in the bag. Next, fill with a dark colored icing. You start at the bottom. And then you want to go in a circular curly key motion. And then just repeat with the next shade until it creates an ombre effect. I have a lot of experience with both buttercream and fondant cakes, but buttercream is probably my favorite one. In the future, I hope to master fondant and gum paste objects for cakes and try more cake shapes. If I have to choose my favorite type of cake to make, it would be wedding cakes. All the time and stress I put into a wedding cake is all worth it when I see the look of awe on a person's face. That look makes the baking I do worth it. Julia Child said it best with this quote: "Learn how to cook, try new recipes, learn from your mistakes, but above all, be fearless and have fun." Having fun and learning what not to do is very important to keep in mind with baking. To make the cakes I have done took a lot of patience, time, practice, and knowing that it is a learning process. Here are just a few of the cakes that I have done over the years. And no one gets it perfect on their first try. I have learned a lot about baking over the years, and someday I hope to turn this passion of mine into a career. As the saying goes, if you find something you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life.